Ladies and gentlemen, it is Tuesday night. It is time for some Turnbuckle Talk, episode 421. Liv Goes Hollywood. My name is Chris Best. Alongside with me is OMD. As I pulled up the wrong overlay, there we go. OMD, how are you doing today?
I'm doing all right. Again, another physical day as I wound up working on the truck again. But again, I don't mind doing these days once in a while. So I am a little bit tired, but not too bad. Here, and of course, I've got Game 5 going.
Mm-hmm. Today was just one of those lazy days. It's the last day before payday, so I basically went around my apartment making a list of everything I need and checking it twice.
Right. And did you find out who was naughty or nice?
Yes. And that little person's name is Pepper. No, I'm kidding.
We know she was the nice one, wasn't she?
Yes. Gonna begin this episode on a bit of a somber note, but let's get everything going. So last week, right as we were getting ready to send out the show for the PlayStation Showcase, we received some devastating news in the wrestling world. In one, Steve Mongo Mcmichael having passed away. Steve Mongo Mcmichael, of course, played for the NFL as a member of the Chicago Bears for a number of years. WrestleMania 11, he was in the corner of Lawrence Taylor and had that big brawl with Kama on the Raw before the show. Was offered a contract, by the way, to the WWF, but WCW sweetened the pot. They gave him a little bit more money, and he went there instead, where he would he would be a commentator for a little bit before joining forces with Dean Malenko, Arn Anderson, Ric Flair, Chris Benoit, to of course form the Four Horsemen. Yes. OMD, what are some of your memories of him? It could be football, could be wrestling.
I don't remember a lot of his football career. I remember his WCW career. Of course, a fantastic competitor, believe it or not, in ring. One of the best guys to make the transition from the NFL to the squared circle.
Yeah, he had an unusual passion for it, and if you remember the build to the LT Bam Bam match, it was more Steve McMichael cutting promos for LT than it was LT.
Yep. And I mean, you watched his career. I mean, we also know that his ex-wife, Deborah, did go on to marry Stone Cold Steve Austin at one point, as well as manage Jeff Jarrett. And I know her career sort of transcended his. But Steve McMichael, I mean, his battle with ALS, a warrior through and through, both in the ring, on the mic, and just brought a lot of joy to a lot of people.
Yeah, one of my biggest memories of him was actually the angle you brought up. Jeff Jarrett and Deborah was the angle. It was the angle that led to Deborah going to Jeff Jarrett, because it all started because of a feud between the two of them, where Mongo would turn babyface. Actually, I think the whole Horseman turned babyface around that time, and we had that whole feud with Deborah. Eventually. Oh, no. It was Mongo. Mongo was heel because Mongo was kind of like verbally abusing Deborah, and Deborah had enough. Jarrett was the babyface, which was a rarity in itself.
Right.
Which led to Jarrett obviously taking on Deborah as his manager, and she would also travel with him to the WWF to become his manager.
Yes, she would. And I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but I do believe that Steve McMichael had a U.S. championship run in WCW, did he not?
Yes, he did. He was one of my favorite underrated U.S. champions, in my personal opinion. He won the title while being a member of the Horsemen. I don't remember who he beat. I got Steve McMichael's information here, his career information. Give me a second here. It'll show me everything. He was trained by the Red Rooster, by the way, Terry Taylor.
Yep.
Came to the WCW on September 4th, 1995, which was, I believe that was the debut episode of Raw, or Nitro it was, as it says here. But he would go on April 96, he would join forces with Ric Flair. With Ric Flair hit this is the part I don't remember. April of 96, right? He is when he joins the Horsemen. And it started because of Ric Flair hitting on Deborah. And Steve McMichael obviously taking exception of it.
Right.
In which McMichael would challenge Flair and Arn Anderson to a match with his partner. Oh, yes, I remember this part. Where he tag teamed with fellow footballer, and he's also no longer with us, but Kevin Green.
Yes. Yes. Okay.
Yeah, I remember the turn now as I'm reading it. I remember that very well. He would obviously go on to feud with the Dungeon of Doom alongside the Horsemen. That was one of the bigger feuds prior to the NWO getting their rise in WCW. Then he had problems with Jeff Jarrett. This was around the time Jarrett joined the Horsemen. But I'm trying to look for when he won the United States title. It's not showing me here, but I do remember him having a U.S. title run. Oh, there it is right there. McMichael got his revenge. It was Jeff Jarrett he beat for the U.S. title. So Jeff Jarrett is probably McMichael's biggest WCW feud. Would you agree with that?
100%. 100%.
Yeah. McMichael did have some crappy matches. I do remember one where he fought Brian Adams, aka Crush. That really wasn't the best.
Yep.
But this was also around the time like he was just getting green to the business. He was still learning, but by the time he won the U.S. title, he had found his niche. He had found like who he was in the ring. I can't say much for how he was on the gridiron, but I've heard nothing but great stories about how he was as a player. And from by all accounts, he was a fantastic player on the field as well. I believe OMD has crashed again. So on that note, I'm going to take a moment here to just give us a moment of silence for Steve Mongo Mcmichael. Thank you, everyone. OMD has definitely crashed out here. Let's move on to the next story I have at hand here. If you will just give me 2 seconds here. We got some news coming out of the North, coming out of Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling, where Scott D'Amore's Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling plans to honor 3 legends of the original promotion in a press release that was issued on Monday. This article obviously is by one Ian Carey of Figure 4 Online. In a press release issued Monday, MLP announced it has signed Legends deals with the families of Bruiser Brody, Bulldog Brower, and the Canadian Wildman Dave McKigney. As part of the agreements, MLP will release limited edition merchandise for each legend, including trading cards and t-shirts. The legends will also be celebrated at MLP events and through digital content. Our goal at Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling at Maple Leaf Pro is to pay respect to the rich history of the professional wrestling in Canada, said MLP President Scott D'Amore. These legends are a way for us to shine a light on trailblazers who paved the way for today's stars and ensure their stories continue to inspire new generations. OMD is back with us. He's buffering.
I am back. I apologize, ladies and gentlemen. My comp froze up and loud static and humming in my ear, so I had to quickly shut down and reboot.
Yeah, right now we are talking about something that Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling has done. Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling has gone ahead and signed 3 legends. Let me back it up here to let you know which legends have signed. They have signed Bruiser Brody, Bulldog Brower, and the Canadian Wildman Dave McKigney. These are guys who originally were a part of the original Maple Leaf Pro roster.
Right.
It's no surprise to me that Bruiser Brody got another Hall of Fame induction.
No.
Or another Legends deal. This dude is just... It's Bruiser Brody.
Yeah. Yep, that is exactly it. It is Bruiser Brody. Good on them. This was the one article I had a chance to actually read a little bit on. And so, from what I understand, they were able to get the deal done with the families to honor them. There will be special merch and special tributes at the shows for them. But it's going to be interesting to see what these Legends deals are like in comparison to what WWE puts into their Legends or nostalgia deals.
Well, because it's interesting to me that they're starting off with all these with this Legends contract. They're not even a year into restarting the promotion. Does it feel like maybe they're starting to bite off a bit too much? Or
I understand where you're coming from. I don't want to say they're biting off too much, but maybe they are jumping the gun a little bit. But again, if you can get name recognition, even though they are Legends deals, and I don't believe any of these 3 are with us anymore.
No, they're all 3 long gone.
So you're going to get that.
These 3, like I'm familiar with them, just so everybody is understandable. They were wrestling in Maple Leaf Pro underneath Jack Tunney and Frank Tunney when they were running Maple Leaf Pro. So we're talking like back in the 70s.
Right. So you're looking at originals.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, you're getting that name recognition from the early days, from the original Maple Leaf Pro. And as Bubba's saying, it is the best way to get people to come back. And you're tapping into the roots of those original Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling fans.
Yeah, as Scott D'Amore says here, these Legend deals are a way for us to shine a light on the trailblazers who paved the way for today's stars and ensuring their stories continue to grow and inspire new generations. So it's a little bit like, to use an example, when I went to the first CWE show I did commentary for, where we met Jacques Rougeau, the Bounty, there was a lot of parents in there who were, a lot of parents and grandparents who were in there talking about who the Mountie was, explaining to their children who he was, what he had done, explaining that he was also a member of the Rougeau family, even talking about the history the Rougeau family as a whole have within the wrestling industry, especially in the Quebec territory.
Yes, absolutely. I am a little bit intrigued by the Bruiser Brody, given what we know of his history. And we don't need to get too far into that, but we know that he was accused of some very heinous things, both in the locker room and in his personal life. But the fact is he is still a legend in this business and paved the way for a lot of people.
I mean, if you look at it this way, and we wouldn't have had Luke Harper if it weren't for Bruiser Brody.
Right?
Just going to put that out there. And Harper has said this when he was with us. Bruiser Brody was one of his idols.
Yep.
John Nord, the Berserker, paid tribute to Bruiser Brody with his gimmick when he came to the WWE.
Yep. That he did.
He also looked like Bruiser Brody.
But yes, he did, very much so.
But yeah, I gotta say I'm happy with these. At the same time, I'm a little bit intrigued about the merch that they're gonna sell, because I wouldn't mind getting myself a Bruiser Brody shirt, or even a Bulldog shirt for that matter, or just going in and reading about these legends as well.
Right. And see, the Bulldog, like, not a name I am familiar with at all. Same with the Canadian Wildman. Again, another name I am not familiar with.
Yeah, and again, that's where Scott D'Amore is saying, like, shine a light on. It allows us allows those of us who have not had any experience with these wrestlers to go on YouTube, to look up matches on these guys, to as Bubba said, find merch for MLP. And I'm pretty sure, I don't know if there's a website, Bubba, but if you go to their events, that's the only way I know.
Yeah.
But you can also get trading cards, t-shirts, limited edition merchandise for each legend, though. So I can see how some of those would become collector's items.
Yes, 100% they would.
Speaking of legends, we're going to move to from Toronto and Windsor to Poughkeepsie, New York.
Okay.
Where a famous venue in Poughkeepsie, I'm familiar with this arena, the MJN Center, which has hosted some of the most iconic matches and memorable moments in professional wrestling. This is coming from WPDH.com, which is a radio station out in Poughkeepsie. The MJN Center in Poughkeepsie, New York, is going to be hosting a Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame. I'm looking for the induction. Yeah. Oh, announcing the launch of the Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame. The MJN Center in Poughkeepsie, New York is proud to announce the creation of the MJN Center Wrestling Hall of Fame, a new initiative dedicated to honoring the legends, innovators, and unforgettable figures who have left their mark in the world of professional wrestling. A venue steeped in wrestling history, the MJN Center has hosted some of the most iconic matches and memorable moments in professional wrestling. The MJN Center Wrestling Hall of Fame will specifically honor those who made their mark right here in Poughkeepsie, celebrating the performers and personalities whose unforgettable contributions helped define the legacy of the venue. From groundbreaking matches to historic moments, the Hall of Fame will shine a spotlight on the stars who helped turn the MJN Center into a wrestling landmark. This is it goes on to explain everything here. There's no inductees announced here, but I'm all for this thing. I'm all for recognizing wrestlers for whichever locales that they've made their name.
100%. Believe it or not, even I have some history with somebody who came out of Poughkeepsie, New York. And when I made my in-ring debut with Carl Carafel, back then he was known as Rage. I don't even remember what my stage name was at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And it was as part of an alliance with He Who Shall Not Be Named, but our manager had moved up here from Poughkeepsie.
Cool. I'm excited to see which wrestlers get listed here. I'm excited to see to read up on these legends if they're names that I haven't heard of, because Poughkeepsie was a hotbed for WWE wrestling in the 70s, in the 60s, 70s, and 80s.
Yes, it was.
So I expect the obvious names to be put in there: Bruno Sammartino, Buddy Rogers, Lou Thez.
I do too.
Those three names made the New York territory a big deal.
And as you alluded to in our last segment, there is another icon who is gone too soon, one Brody Lee Luke Harper from Poughkeepsie, New York.
Mm-hmm. And that's the thing, though. I'm got to look and see if he's wrestled at the MJN Center, because that's where what I'm gathering is if you wrestled at that arena, they're going to look at.
I believe he did.
Mm-hmm. So the Hall of Fame will be announced tomorrow morning, 10:30 a.m. on Busted Open Radio.
Oh, fantastic.
The official induction ceremony will take place during the Awesome Championship Wrestling's Aftershock event, Saturday, May 17th, 2025, promising an unforgettable night of action. Awesome Championship Wrestling now houses themselves at MJN.
Okay. I do know, and I can't remember where it was, but I do know a couple of years ago, All Elite Wrestling did host an event in Poughkeepsie as well. TNA has used Poughkeepsie for a Bound for Glory, as well as, I believe, a Slammiversary.
Yeah, and like I've mentioned, WWE has been there time and time again as well. I mean, it's
yes.
In the 70s when they were touring with Bruno Sammartino and Bob Backlund, Poughkeepsie was one of their stops for one of their major events.
Yes.
It was for one of their, I should say, semi-major, because you had your major cities in that tour with Philadelphia, Boston, and obviously New York City.
Right.
But yeah, good on this. I'm excited. I might have to. I don't really listen to Busted Open that much, but I'm gonna have to listen to tomorrow's episode.
Absolutely. And I mean, especially because there is a member of Busted Open Radio who has competed in Poughkeepsie quite frequently, and that being one Bubba Ray Dudley.
That's the other thing I was going to say too, is during the 90s, I remember watching ECW and them always promoting that they were going to do a Poughkeepsie, New York, and a Schenectady. I can't pronounce that one.
Schenectady,
and,
yep.
Yeah, and Buffalo. Those were the three cities I always seem to remember them talking about in the New York area.
Yep.
But this is cool. If it is Busted Open, I'm going to call this right now. Maybe Bubba Ray is one of those ones that gets that induction.
I really would not be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if it's Bubba Ray or the Dudleys themselves.
I mean, Bubba Ray right now is the host of the Busted Open, so it wouldn't be surprising to me if his other co-host, one Mark Henry, is the one that says, "Hey, look, we're putting you in this. You're going into this Hall of Fame."
It could be Mark Henry. It could be Tommy Dreamer. It could be Dave LaGreca. Could be.
I went with Mark Henry because I know that he recently just became an actual full-on co-host for the show.
Right. Yeah, they were sort of rotating between Mark Henry and Tommy Dreamer for a while.
Yeah. But let's address an injury that took place before WrestleMania. An injury that left us wondering. That left me and Bubba wondering, actually, when we were watching the SmackDown Security Detail. Rey Mysterio is scheduled to undergo surgery today, April 29th, 2025. And the WWE star shared on Instagram that he would undergo surgery to repair a torn abductor. So that's what he had done.
Okay.
Mysterio suffered the injury on the SmackDown the night before WrestleMania 41, presumably. Stupid ad popping up right in front of me as I'm trying to read it. Presumably when he was pulled from the ring by Julius Creed. Yeah. Rey Mysterio was pulled from WrestleMania, replaced by Rey Fenix, who obviously lost to El Grande Americano. But it left Bubba and I wondering, like, he was limping pretty hard. And there was a point in the match, because it was about halfway through the match that it happened. But there was a point, I think it was like about three or 4 minutes after it had happened, where Bubba was like, "Where's Rey?" And so Bubba and I started looking for Rey, and then we see medicals right at ringside, and we're like, "Oh crap!"
Right. Anybody who knows me knows I am not a huge lucha fan. I respect it. I appreciate it for what it means to wrestling. And lucha wouldn't be where it is today without Rey Mysterio. And I mean, thank you to Rey for everything you've done. But I personally believe it's time to hang it up. You are undergoing these surgeries at least once a year that are keeping you out. You're back for 6 months, and then you're gone again. I personally believe it is time that he hangs it up. He is a Hall of Famer. He is a legend. He has done everything there is to do in the business.
It's been a few years since he's been hurt, actually. But I just took a look at the recovery time for a tear. We're looking at 3 to 4 months after surgery. So we're looking at about Survivor Series. He's coming back. That's no 3 to 4 months. SummerSlam, yeah, SummerSlam. But we also got to factor in the time it would take to go through rehab afterwards.
Yep. And his age.
Yeah, but Rey Mysterio is still kind of a beast at his age, so he may come back sooner.
He is, and I mean, we can't deny that. But I do personally think it is time. If he wants to keep the mentor role and, you know, become a trainer, I'm all for it. Keep a managerial role with the LWO.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's time for Rey to hang it up.
Well, see, the thing is with this injury, because I'm thinking, I'm going back to the spot in my head. It was clearly an accidental injury.
Right.
It wasn't anything like when Vince McMahon ran to the ring at the 2005 Rumble and popped both his quads. It wasn't anything caused by him, so it was a legit accident. It probably wouldn't have happened had they not done that spot.
Right.
So I'm saying Rey Mysterio is probably going to come back, but again, I don't, like you said, that puts it about SummerSlam. He's not going to be at SummerSlam, so I'm going to assume October, we'll say-ish, he'll be back.
See, and I'm thinking if we're looking at 3 to 4 months, you're going to look at SummerSlam, potentially Clash in Paris.
It's possible, but again, I'm also factoring in the rehab afterwards. That's why I'm saying October.
Well, the thing is like within probably like 2 to 3 weeks from the surgery, he'll be starting his rehab.
Yeah, I've suffered this injury, so I know what it's about.
Right.
I tore when I served in the military. For all those out there, there was a point I was doing some of my basic training. We were going out to do snowshoe walking. Now imagine me. I'm a big guy. I'm walking to my training with 50 pounds of gear on me, and I slip on black ice. I broke my kneecap and I tore everything. I was down for 6 months total. Yeah. That's including rehab. It sucked.
I can only imagine.
But yeah, this sucks for Rey, but I wouldn't mind, like, even after he has the surgery, he can still come out maybe as like a manager for Walking Wild and
right.
Yeah.
Bubba's saying you look like a Bigfoot in the woods.
Yeah, they used to call me one half of the Twin Towers because there was another gentleman in the army that I served with that stood at 6'9".
Wow.
But yeah, it's about 3 to 4 months. But again, like I've said, Ray's kind of a bit of a beast and has been known to come back sooner from some injuries.
He has. He has. But like I said, I think it's time. And I know we've sort of seen him take on that more of a mentorship role within the LWO now, only getting into the ring sort of when needed. I'd like to see him. And whether he goes back, and whether it's a guy like a Penta, whether it's a Ray Phoenix, whether it's a Dragon Lee or Dom, hang it up. Put the mask on the line and go out. Do it the right way. And make it a legendary match that we'll never forget.
Yeah, I think I got some news here too regarding one John Cena here as we move away from Ray. Just coming across my desk here, but the next Saturday night's main event will take place May 24th. Special event will take place in Tampa. John Cena has already been officially announced to be on that card.
Interesting, because I did read something today, I guess. I mean, we all know that come Backlash, it's going to be John Cena and Randy Orton. But apparently, and I mean, we could get the rematch of John Cena versus Cody at Saturday night's main event. But I have also heard Money in the Bank. So it will be interesting to see what they have John Cena do at Saturday night's main event.
It will be intriguing. I wonder if you can, because you could, Saturday night's main event. Remember when we were growing up, Saturday night's main event wasn't always the be all end all for feuds. It was the be all end all for some of like Hogan's more minor feuds.
Right.
And I say Hogan because those shows back then were built around Hulk Hogan.
Yes, they were.
But we also saw a lot of times where Hulk Hogan's feuds were furthered. To use an example, the February 1990 episode specifically, which was the build to Ultimate Warrior and Hulk Hogan.
Right.
We had 2 matches on that show. Ultimate Warrior took on Earthquake. Hulk Hogan took on Dino Bravo. Both those, the one match led to, it was Hogan and Dino's match that led to Earthquake running out and beating on Hogan. Earthquake had lost to Warrior earlier that night.
Right.
Warrior comes out to make the save, and that led to them having that big stare down.
Right.
The second biggest stare down. The biggest one was at the Royal Rumble that year.
Yes.
And I just remembered the hype that got, and I think we can do that again with the May 24th episode, where we have John Cena coming out, and he's just beaking off to the crowd, whatever. Then Cody makes his return.
Yeah.
Then we get the ball rolling on that feud. The ball rolling on that feud again.
Yeah.
And this is where Cody's like, I want my rematch. Let's do it at Money in the Bank.
Yeah. Now, admittedly, and I mean, I don't expect it, but we could also potentially get Dwayne returning, where they're out. Of course, Cody makes his return, calls both of them out, and they're going to tell him, well, find a partner, we'll take you on. And of course, we get Cody and Randy.
That's it. That's intriguing. I'm glad you mentioned The Rock, because we're going to move away from John Cena here. Because again, we don't know much about this, just that John Cena is going to be on the card. And it's obviously leading us already to speculating as to what's going to happen. But I think it is now time for our showstopper segment. On his feet. Oh my God in heaven! Our showstopper segment is, of course, Liv Goes Hollywood. Earlier today, last night actually on Raw, Liv Morgan had come up to Nick Aldis and asked for time off. Nick Aldis granted it to her. Dominic also asked for time off, but Nick didn't grant him time off.
Right.
Word came out this morning as to why Liv Morgan has asked for that time off.
Liv mentioned it last night on Raw.
Yeah,
She said she was going to. She said on Raw last night she was going to do a movie.
It was officially confirmed this morning, though. Liv Morgan is, yes, she is taking off to go do a movie. Nick Aldis had requested the time off, which was granted to accommodate to her filming project. It's not even specified what movie she's going to do. It is a major role, and it will be unveiled to the public next week. However, the exact duration of Morgan's absence from the WWE remains uncertain, leaving fans to speculate on when they might see her back in action. Now, me being in film, I know it takes about 2 to 3 months to shoot a movie. But this led me to believe, as we're now curious as to what Liv is going to be doing, it's already been confirmed it is not a Marvel movie. She's already said that. But this led me to, as I was reading this, to ask the question, and I'm going to pose this to you, OMD, and to the viewers out there. Which wrestler turned actor are movies that you enjoy? Or have movies that you enjoy?
Well, I'm going to go with John Cena. Yes, I was a fan of, and I will even go out to admit, I was a fan of the original Doom with The Rock.
That movie sucked.
It's a guilty pleasure movie. I quite enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
But John Cena has done some fantastic movies. But I mean, I know in a lot of cases they are guest appearances, but I've got to do Stone Cold. And especially his consistent recurring role that he had on the TV show Nash Bridges. And I'm even going to say Goldberg and his recurring role that he had with NCIS Los Angeles.
Okay, so no Condemned for You for Steve Austin, or no Santa's Slay for Goldberg?
I've never seen Santa's Slay. I've seen The Condemned numerous times. I have an autographed copy of the book, and I did say Stone Cold.
I know. I said no Condemned for Stone Cold because you mentioned his role on Nash Bridges.
I did. I was at the world premiere of The Condemned.
For me, I'm gonna flat out say this. I liked Hulk Hogan's movies.
Yeah.
The only one I did not like was the Three Ninjas High Noon at Mega Mountain, and Santa with Muscles is sort of a guilty pleasure, but yeah, my go-to Hulk Hogan movie has and forever will be 2 movies actually: Suburban Commando and No Holds Barred. No Holds Barred is free to watch on Tubi. So
I own a VHS copy of No Holds Barred. I'm surprised you didn't go with Mr. Nanny.
I have Mr. Nanny on VHS too. I have No Holds Barred on VHS too, recorded off of the original TMN when it was called First Premiere or First Choice. I mean,
right.
That's way back in the day.
Yeah. I've even got to admit, I mean, I haven't seen a ton of them, but Batista has some good ones.
I actually like Batista in Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yep.
I'm not one for Marvel movies, but something intrigued me to watch that movie, and I just found myself loving Batista's character.
And I got to go with the classic, the legendary Kurgan's performance in Sherlock Holmes.
didn't see that movie. I saw the scene and I thought it was cool. But you talk about legendary scenes. One of my personal favorite scenes, and it was the reason why I wanted to go watch this movie, on top of me being a Thomas Jane fan, The Punisher.
Yes.
Kevin Nash.
Yes.
Now
As
that
the
we're
Russian.
on, yep. Now that we're on Kevin Nash, Ninja Turtles 2.
Yep.
When he played Super Shredder.
Yes.
And for the ladies out there, yes, we know he was in Magic Mike.
Yes, we do know.
But Gabriel Iglesias was also in that movie.
He was also in the movie Rock of Ages with Tom Cruise.
Oh, that's he was too, eh? I'm trying to think of like so one of my favorite TV episodes actually involves The Rock's first acting gig. It was the episode of Star Trek Voyager where he appears and he goes in and has that fight with, I'm going to really show my nerd side here, but he goes in, 7 and 9 gets trapped in this alien world where she has to fight her way out of it. And The Rock is like this big badass dude that nobody can beat kind of thing. 7 and 9 beats the living snot out of him to get out of this planet. I'm pretty sure, I don't know if you would have watched the episode, but
I have not, because I will be honest, I was a Star Trek geek growing up. Mm-hmm. But after The Next Generation, I lost interest in Star Trek.
Yeah, but you know who I'm referring to when I say 7 of 9, because she was actually in that same oh, you don't?
No.
She was actually in the same universe as The Next Generation.
Oh, yeah, no, not a clue.
Yeah, see, Bubba here agrees with me. It was a great show, and it really was. You should have watched it. It really was, because it was a different take on the whole Star Trek universe. So it was instead of the Enterprise being the featured ship, they actually featured another one of their ships that they have, and I thought that was the cool thing, you know?
Right.
But yeah, so another thing I enjoy too. A lot of people wouldn't remember this, but when UPN first struck the deal with SmackDown, it wasn't just to have SmackDown.
No,
they were making made-for-TV movies that had wrestlers in them, and there was one, I don't remember the name of it, that had Hardcore Holly in it, and really? I thought it was great. They put Hardcore Holly in a military role, and I'm like, that works for him.
Yep. And it's funny because we're talking about all of this, and yet there's two premier WWE superstars who just had movie roles cut in Seth Rollins, who is supposed to be in Captain America, or no, not Captain America. Yeah, Brave New World. And his role was completely cut. And Damian Priest, who was supposed to be in Black Panther Wakanda Forever.
And we've got my brother, Bard, coming in and saying, I love Spider-Man with Macho Man. I got you for 3 minutes. Yep, Macho Man was gold in that scene, not going to lie.
He wasn't Macho Man, though. He was Bonesaw.
Yes, but he was cast as the name that appears in his credits was Macho Man Randy Savage. And he also boasted to Hulk Hogan about being in the movie. Yeah, I love that scene too. It's one of my favorite things. One of the things about that scene, though, that I thought about, and I've watched it recently, because I thought that there's a scene when the cage comes down before the fight, and there's a guy that shouts "Cage," and I swear to God, the guy sounded exactly like Paul Heyman. I had to go in and look to see if it was Paul Heyman. It turns out it wasn't, because the guy looked like him too.
Right.
And speaking of Paul Heyman, Rollerball.
Yeah. As we alluded to, the movie Rock of Ages with Kevin Nash earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Tom Cruise's manager, played by Paul Giamatti,
yes,
had the pet monkey named Heyman.
You know what's funny though about Paul Giamatti? He could play Paul Heyman.
He absolutely could. 100%. I mean, if you look at his character in that movie,
Yeah.
he was Paul Heyman.
Jesus. Yeah. Trying to.
So because we don't know, what do we want to like? Do we want to do some speculating? Like, given Liv's like bubbly personality, is this going to be a rom-com? Is this going to be an action movie, a horror movie?
Well, see, that's the other thing too. We glossed over Liv Morgan's acting debut to me on the TV show Chucky,
Yes.
where she appeared as a fictionalized version of her WWE character, only to be killed by Chucky. And what I thought was a great scene, by the way. I
Right.
loved it. I marked out big time for that.
And it was something that she had always wanted to do. But this was not supposed to be Liv's first movie.
No.
She was supposed to be in the movie Queen of the Ring alongside Charlotte Flair.
Yeah, but they got pulled in favor for AEW wrestlers. I can't remember which ones took their spots, but
Tony Storm.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't remember.
But yeah. Another old wrestling movie that, or not old wrestling movie, but old, a movie where I've got my first exposure to one certain king that we all love. The movie Life with Mikey had Jerry Lawler in it.
Yep.
And Jeff Jarrett.
Really?
There was a scene, yeah. There's a scene where Michael J. Fox, who's the star of the movie, takes the young actress. The whole movie is about an agent who's down on his luck, who comes across this young woman who wants to be this young girl who wants to be an actress. And she comes to live with Michael J. Fox, and Michael J. Fox's house is just all crap. But anyways, there's a scene where it's Mikey's birthday. Mikey is the name of the character,
right?
And they go to a wrestling event, and Jerry Lawler and Jeff Jarrett are the ones that they watch wrestle. And Jerry Lawler was playing the heel, but then we saw the kayfabe being broken at the end, where Jeff Jarrett loses the match, and he still does the heel thing, but he brings Mikey into the ring and sings "Happy Birthday."
Okay.
But yeah, this is I'm totally excited. I love it when we see like these wrestlers transition from Hollywood or from wrestling to Hollywood. And I know you're not too big a fan on that, especially with your thoughts on The Rock.
Right. See, I'm okay with them going to do a movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think Cena's happened more organically than The Rock's did. I think my personal feelings, well, we don't need to get into that. But like you go back and you look at a guy like Hogan, who would go and do a movie for 6 to 8 weeks, and then he's back to return for the next 2-3 years. We've seen CM Punk do a movie in his 10 years away. There's a movie out there that has Bret Hart and Angelina Love in it together. I believe Trish is also in that movie.
Oh, you just reminded me of another movie that I loved.
Okay.
It's a horror movie. It was one of the cheapest, the cheapest horror movies ever made, but it had Christian in it, and it was really weird because Christian was like big and muscular compared to all the other actors,
right?
But he plays like a meek nerd guy in the movie.
Yes, I remember it.
It looks so weird because I can't remember the name of it either, but it was really like a far out there horror movie.
Right. And let's not forget MacGruber.
Well, since we're talking wrestling movies with wrestler cameos, I mean, The Longest Yard.
Right. Right.
But yeah, I'm trying to. Yeah, my most favorite movie, my go-to wrestler movie is Hulk Hogan in No Holds Barred, and I know that that's a wrestling movie specifically, because the whole thing is built around a match between him and Tiny Lister, aka Zeus.
Yep. But this begs to question what is going to happen with the women's tag team titles. Are they going to be put on hold for the next month and a half, 2 months, or are they going to have to drop them?
See, that's what I'm wondering about too, because it's both Liv and Raquel who were granted time off. So I'm wondering if, well, I know Raquel, we've talked about her a couple weeks ago and how she's still kind of dealing with her health issues.
Right.
I'm wondering if Raquel's going to seize advantage of this and actually try to fully recover from what's going on with her during this time. And I do wonder if there is going to be a change in the tag team titles, because now, to me personally, it doesn't make sense that Liv Morgan and Raquel won the tag titles last week.
No, it doesn't.
Now that we know that this has come out.
Yeah. So yeah, are they going to lose them? Do they have to forfeit them? And does this create more friction now within the Judgment Day, with Liv and Raquel not there to try and sort of hold it together?
Yeah, because now you've got Finn and Dom, who basically right now are having like a power struggle, as it were.
Yep.
And I think the one that's going to be caught in the middle of this is it's not Carlito, because Carlito's he's going to go to wherever Carlito wants to go to, whoever he feels has the strongest one. The strongest word for him. But JD McDonough is going to be the one that's caught in the middle of this, and it's going to be like a tug of war over him.
Yep.
But yeah, like with Liv and I'm now starting to think, yeah, that tag title change did not make any sense last week. You could have continued Becky and Lyra with those tag titles and had them break up. Maybe we'll say we'll say Saturday night's main event. You could have had them lose the titles there and break up.
Yep.
Because now you could have done this whole Becky is my best friend. You still could have continued on the who attacked Bayley, because Becky obviously revealed it was her.
Yep.
But now I'm now curious about those women tag titles and those women's tag titles. We're gonna have to keep a close eye on this whole story, just to see what goes on with the tag titles, because it's not even been determined just how long Liv is actually going to be away to shoot this movie.
Right.
But at the same time, I'm excited for her. She's going from one medium that I like to another medium I like.
Yes. I mean, who knows? She could be, off for the next 2 weeks, come back for Saturday night's main event, and then go back to film.
Yeah, because that's the thing. For some of the film projects I've worked on, the least I've been on a film project was 2 weeks. The most I was on one was 5 weeks.
Right.
So, like, again, a shoot schedule, it all depends on the character that you're playing. If you're playing a major role, though, like it indicates here, I fully expect that she's going to be gone for 2 months.
Right.
But I think it's time that we showcase what we've got going on with the Turnbuckle Affiliation Program.
Let's tell the people what they can see every night of the week.
Turnbuckle Studios and the Turnbuckle Affiliation Program bring you the week of streams. All times are in Eastern Time. Monday nights you get the Locker Room Breakdown at 7 p.m., followed by the Raw Patrol at 8 p.m. Tuesday brings you the flagship show, Turnbuckle Talk, at 8:05 p.m. Wednesday we play games with the PlayStation Showcase at 8 p.m. Thursday we got total non-stop action with Brace for Impact at 8 p.m. Friday we game again with Unleashed, the Jessica Wilde story at 7 p.m. Following the game, join us for the SmackDown Security Detail at 8 p.m. The weekend brings you Saturday Night Gaming at 8 p.m. On Sunday be sure to catch the Chris Parrish podcast at 12:15 p.m. followed by the Boar's Nest at 8 p.m. Be part of the shows and join the chat every day.
Yeah, that's everything you can find with the Turnbuckle Affiliation Program. But if you want to go ahead and gather more information, all you got to do is go to turnbucklestudios.org. From there, you'll be able to meet the team, be able to find out our latest episodes, be able to reach out to us and do some collaborations with us, whether it's on the gaming side or on the pro wrestling side. OMD, on that note, where can the people find you?
Ladies and gentlemen, if you're looking for me, you can find me on my link tree, linktr.ee
Don't die on
slash
us.
OMD show. And if you're looking for me again visually, right back here tomorrow night, but on the CBRS Entertainment channel with Mr. Best on the PlayStation Showcase.
Yeah, and again, if you want to follow me, guys, my link tree is lanktr.ee/Chris_best83. And just as OMT alluded to, tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Eastern, we're going to be doing the PlayStation Showcase. Tomorrow night's game, the original version of Days Gone, as the remastered version just came out. I don't have that one just yet.
Oh, nice.
And OMD, what are those famous words we like to go out on?
Ladies and gentlemen, the world is a scary place. Take care of each other. From all of us here at Turnbuckle Studios and the Turnbuckle Affiliation Program, to those of you out there wherever you are, good night, good luck. We out.